The Kavanaugh hearing is over, and now I'm going to talk about the Kavanaugh hearing. I'm just going to say it. This is ridiculous. It's all absolutely ridiculous. Everyone's insane. This is crazy, and it says to me that civil war, we're in a cold civil war, I guess you can call it. So some people are saying, because we're not seeing a hot civil war, but this is insane. Brett Kavanaugh was subjected to more questions than all other Supreme Court justices combined. That he's having ridiculous claims made about him. I mean, my God. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. This story about lining up outside of rooms with like women being drugged over several years, it's just absolutely insane. And what I'm scared of is that we are seeing this, so many people on Twitter embracing emotion as their guiding force. Emotion can be a great thing, but we need proof. We don't want to punish the guy who says that the earth revolves around the sun like humanity did all that, those hundreds of years ago. We want to make sure that everything we're doing is sound. So I got a bunch of articles pulled up, and I'm just going to address some of the core things. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to talk about everything. In terms of Christine Blasey Ford, she seemed genuine. Okay, let me say this. I grew up in the hacker community, social engineering. I was a nonprofit fundraiser, and one of my skills was reading people. When I watched her testimony, I viewed her as, on a scale of like 1 to 10, I give her a 6 or 7 in terms of honesty. I would actually rate Brett Kavanaugh around the same. Okay, there are some things Brett Kavanaugh said that I thought were dodges for certain reasons. I felt like Christine Blasey Ford was coached. When asked about why she didn't want to come to DC, she said she's afraid of flying, claustrophobia. Except she flies every year to her family's house, as she stated, and she flies on vacations to Hawaii and Costa Rica and Tahiti. And those are long flights, right? So I don't believe she's actually scared of flying. I think someone probably told her to say that and she's just going along with it. In my opinion, I believe she genuinely believes what she's saying. She's probably wrong. It probably wasn't Kavanaugh. I wouldn't know. I don't think that's accurate. But I do believe that for political reasons, she is being manipulated. Brett Kavanaugh opened up with an extremely emotional, angry, heartfelt statement. And what do I see on Twitter? Ridiculous insults, attacks, derision. And I'm just like, what is wrong with everybody? My God. Like, they have zero empathy. And I have found that when I talk to people, typically the regressive left, it is about zero empathy. People are telling me on Facebook that I have an absurd standard for evidence. And I said, you mean any evidence? I mean, listen, all these accusations made against Kavanaugh, okay? And I'm willing to listen. I've even said time and time again, I don't believe Ford is lying, but we need evidence. Personally, I think I give her more weight than I give Brett Kavanaugh simply because it takes a lot. There's a huge risk and damage to come out and say these things. Brett Kavanaugh is damaged by this as well, but of course he has to deny it. I also want to point out a fear that I have of zealotry, because we have seen dogmatic zealotry among the regressive left, and they claim to act on any means necessary. They want to achieve their aims by any means necessary, which means I would not put it past certain people to use their ideology as justification for lying, okay? They believe the ends justify the means. They don't, because you never meet the ends. The whole world is the means. There never is an end. We keep going. And if you want to build a world based off of lies, deceit, and violent tactics, and you think, people say, oh, we'll use violence now to oppose the fascists, and then in the future we'll not have violence. No, that's not true. The tool you use will be ingrained in your society. So I could rant for a little bit, but I want to point out a few things. According to NPR, this is from about 9 days ago, Republicans in the Trump White House argue that isn't the FBI's role in regards to investigating. The Justice Department seems to agree. In a statement, a Justice Department spokeswoman said the FBI, which has added a letter from Christine Blasey Ford to Kavanaugh's already completed background report file, had already done all it was going to do because the allegation does not involve any potential federal crime. The FBI does not make any judgment about the credibility of the allegation. Statement reads, oh, we've got this weird thing blocking the way. What is this? Why is this blocking the text? Okay, the purpose of a background, I would assume, check is to determine whether or not the nominee could pose a risk to the national security of the United States. I'm filling in the blanks because I don't know how to get rid of whatever this thing is. Oh, there we go. The FBI does not make any judgment about the credibility or significance of any allegation, the statement reads. The purpose of a background investigation is to determine whether the nominee could pose a risk to the national security of the United States. The allegation does not involve any potential federal crime. The FBI's role in such matters is to provide information for the use of the decision makers. Why, in my opinion, did Kavanaugh refuse to say that he would reject an FBI investigation or support it? Because, in my opinion, the FBI investigation is not going to do anything. As we've seen, they've already done everything they're going to do. There's no federal crime. There's no point in them investigating. More importantly, I believe the investigation is simply, as we heard from the Democrats, why don't we wait another week? It's an attempt to postpone this. And Kavanaugh is under no obligation to allow them to postpone it, especially when they have testimony already. They have sworn statements under oath from several witnesses, denying knowledge of the party, or in one instance, Blasey Ford's friend denying that she even knew Kavanaugh. Then you have Mark Judge denying the event took place. However, in my personal opinion, I believe Mark Judge should have been made to testify because of statements he's made in the past and accusations made about Kavanaugh from his writings and from things he's said. He is a direct party to the event in question, and if you're going to have a hearing, he should have been there too, so he could have been questioned. A simple statement probably wouldn't suffice, but look, it is what it is. We have numerous people refuting the claim, saying they didn't even know Kavanaugh. The story seems to not necessarily make sense. Unfortunately for Blasey Ford, I'm going to say it, I don't believe she's lying, but I have to point out, she doesn't know the time and date. She doesn't know the month. She doesn't know how she got to the party, how she got home. She doesn't know anything about this party. I'm sorry, you need these details. As it was pointed out, what would the FBI even investigate? Okay, they don't know where to start. They don't know who to ask. And the people who have been asked have already denied it. I want to point out this tweet. This is from Independent Women's Forum, which I believe is independent. She said, 6 cleared FBI background investigations, 17,000 pages of judicial opinions, 290,000 pages of publicly accessible emails and other documents from the Bush White House, 34 plus hours of sworn testimony, 1,200 written questions, more than all other SCOTUS nominees combined, 3 interviews with the committee under penalty of felony, categorically denying all allegations. Okay? Now let's talk about the other side. Common Dreams has this up on their site. As survivors nationwide express gratitude for Ford's courage, power of her testimony declared disaster for Republicans. As predicted, okay, the left, the Democrats, they're going to say, wow, Blasey Ford was great, and they are insulting and deriding Brett Kavanaugh. Don't believe me? Let's take a look at Splinter. Look at this image of Blasey Ford, and you can see her standing there looking rather, the lights. It's very, I don't know how to describe it, but it looks good. It's great. The attorney's looking up at her, hand in the air. Look at this picture of Kavanaugh looking like a snarling gremlin. This is what people do. Splinter is far left. Full disclosure, I worked for Splinter when it was still called Fusion. They're going to take these photos that exemplify how they're calling it Brett Kavanaugh's unhinged opening statement. They called it a complete train wreck. Right, and now people on the left are going to see that and go, wow, look how angry and snarling he is, and it was a train wreck. Sure, and if you watch it, you get a different impression. And the right's going to say something different, because look at the photos they use of Kavanaugh. They're much nicer. National disgrace. Granted, the thing about that angry face is that a lot of Republicans do like to see some kind of strength. So sometimes looking angry, like here, Graham explodes on Senate, all caps, we can see that this works for Republicans. We have this article in the Daily Caller. It says, the moment Kavanaugh broke down during his forceful opening statement. And you can see he looks more pensive and stoic. When they're talking about literally the same thing. They said a forceful opening statement, and Splinter called it an unhinged opening statement. What's it going to be? I don't know. Everyone's insane. My conclusion, look, there's no evidence. This is ridiculous. Move on with the vote. I have seen things about Brett Kavanaugh and his statements on the Patriot Act and the Fourth Amendment I do not agree with. Personally, I am more opposed to Kavanaugh than I am in favor of him. I don't know enough about him or his history, but I can say that based on his conservative positions that I disagree with, which, look, it's fine if you're a conservative, I disagree with you. I'm just not going to vote for you, plain and simple. So I disagree with him on that. But then he's made some statements about search and seizure under the Fourth Amendment and the Patriot Act and metadata. Really disagree with that. However, I'm not so ridiculous as to say these accusations have any merit to them. They don't. The New York Times couldn't even corroborate this, and it's on record that the New Yorker didn't even confirm the details of one of the accusers. It's just ridiculous. I have another story that I pulled up that I want to mention. A defiant and tearful Brett Kavanaugh says, "He is innocent, you'll never get me to quit." I gotta admit, there was a point where I thought Brett Kavanaugh would just be like, "I am done with this. I am done." But he refused, because I try to put myself in these people's position. Yes, that includes Christine Blasey Ford, who I believe is telling the truth, as Brett Kavanaugh said. He's not saying she's lying. He thinks she's mistaken. I believe that's fair. I believe that is absolutely fair and compassionate. And I have nothing but respect for Christine Blasey Ford, and I have nothing but disrespect for the politicians who would put her on the stand and manipulate her for political gain. I do not trust any of these people, and I especially have nothing but contempt for the people on Twitter who are just shitting on both of them. Fuck all of you. Seriously. There are people tweeting at me saying, "You know this is a sham, Christine Blasey Ford is a liar, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, dude, no. First of all, you don't win the argument. You don't win your side by attacking someone who said she was sexually assaulted. You do exactly what Kavanaugh did, and you say, "I believe that, at some point she's likely telling the truth. I'm not saying that she's not, but she's mistaken." And I believe that is the classy and humble way to approach the situation. And Christine Blasey Ford should be treated with the utmost respect that the politicians behind this do not. Too many people are confusing Christine Blasey Ford with what the Democrats are doing, okay? And not even all of the Democrats. Not all of them. A really interesting point was brought up when they said to Feinstein, who leaked this, and she said, maybe nobody, because Ford testified that she told her friends about it. Look, it's a game of telephone. Ford said she told her friends. I really think confidentiality wasn't broken by the Democrats. I believe she just told people about it. And it started before she had lawyers. She said she was talking to her friends, and her friends advised her to get lawyers and go to the press and do these things. So the story was out there. How much are you willing to bet one of her friends is a lefty who said this needs to be known and told all her friends, "Can you believe that Brett Kavanaugh did this?" And then some journalists got wind of it, someone else was a journalist, and then the journalist showed up at her house. The blame is immediately put on the Democrats for this. I don't think that's necessarily fair, but I will say it is irrefutable at this point. You'd have to be lying to yourself, okay? Feinstein knew about these allegations, and they went through this entire hearing with Kavanaugh, and no one brought it up, and they knew. To me, that reeks of an 11th hour Hail Mary that they were using to jam up the system. And now they're continually pressuring Kavanaugh to say yes to an investigation simply so they can delay it another week. I have no respect for politicians. And look, right now, I'm going to be yelling at the Democrats because I don't trust them. That doesn't mean any of these Republicans deserve anything and should get off the hook for anything they've done in the past or in the future. I don't trust them either, and I don't like them either. It just so happens that we're talking about two people, Brett Kavanaugh and Christine Blasey Ford, and how this system has been used against them for the benefit and to the detriment of various political factions. It is absolutely, categorically disgusting. 100%. Politics in this country is a bunch of scummy motherfuckers, and this is why I hate all of it. Absolutely. With a passion do I despise this whole system. And I'm sitting here in my room glued to the TV all day just watching what's going on, thinking, this is probably the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. And there are a lot of people who are, that I follow. I follow journalists. I haven't seen people on the right who are journalists spew vile, hatred, disgusting garbage. And it's really interesting, okay? Because we disagree on so much. I'm surprised to see this. And then I see people that I've worked with calling Brett Kavanaugh a crying little prick, a whiny baby, insulting him, saying he's got bad temperament, he shouldn't be a judge because he's crying. This is just hypocrisy. It is legislation, it is policy based on emotion. I want to know the facts, okay? My feelings don't matter. Do I like Brett Kavanaugh? I kind of lean towards not liking the guy, to be honest, because of things I've read about his policy towards the federal government, and because of things I've heard about his positions on on things he's voted on. Admittedly, I don't know a whole lot, but you know what? I lean away from him. Does it mean I'll disrespect the man? No. Does it mean I'm going to insult him? No. Will I call him a crying baby? No, absolutely not. I'll call him Judge Brett Kavanaugh and Your Honor like anyone else deserves, simply because I believe he views the world different from me. He believes in God. I don't want to say I don't believe in God, but I certainly don't believe in Catholicism. I don't go to church. He has an entirely different life than I do, different experiences, and that means we're going to be very opposed to one another. But it also means that we need to recognize we're going to have to live together. So even though I disagree with him, even though I recognize we're looking at 40 years of conservative rulings on the Supreme Court, this is what happens when Donald Trump wins, and you can't have these dirty tricks and these disgusting tactics because you're mad at the president. I do not like Donald Trump. I do not like his demeanor. I do not like the way he speaks. I do not like his policies, but I recognize I will do nothing for the benefit of what I believe is right by insulting the man, by insulting the people who support him. If I go to a Trump supporter and insult them and call them whiny, stupid baby pricks who voted for a moron, is that going to do anything for me? No, it's not. I don't believe it's true anyway. I believe people supported the president because there are things they believe in, and there are things they disagree with. I know people who voted for Trump because they didn't want Hillary, and they don't really care for Trump. I know people who voted for Trump because they wanted Bernie, and the only two candidates who were talking about getting rid of these free trade agreements were Bernie and Trump. So I understand. I want to understand why the Trump supporters voted for a man that I think would not make a good leader. There have been good things he's done, undeniably. I wouldn't sit here and claim he hasn't done good things, but I personally do not like his, or admittedly Hillary's, like I hate bringing her up because she's not as relevant, but the fact of the matter is the actions he has taken in terms of foreign policy, commando raids, drone strikes, weapons deals, Syria, etc., ISIS, all that stuff, has, in my opinion, been subpar. Now, admittedly, I don't know who could do better. I don't. The point is, when it comes to Trump's, the way it was described during the election is that Hillary is everything wrong with our government and Trump is everything wrong with our culture. There are certain benefits we receive that Trump has enacted in terms of policy. The economy is doing really well. Unemployment is down. I can recognize those things. He had great meetings in North Korea. Things simmered down between North and South. These are all really good things. So in terms of how much I dislike Trump, it's not extreme. It's not Trump deranged syndrome. It's just kind of like, I think we can get a better leader. Unfortunately, I don't know who's going to be offered up by the Democrats because they don't have anybody. So I'm looking at a list of people and I'm like, Bernie. I do like Bernie more than I like Trump. The point I'm trying to make, and before I go on, I could go on a rant about Trump. The point I'm trying to make is I really do feel like everything we're seeing is the resistance. It's this extreme attack against the president in everything he's trying to do. We've seen the James O'Keefe videos. Yes, there are low-level federal employees who are trying to gum up the works. Now we're seeing absolutely ridiculous claims against Kavanaugh. Just ridiculous. So you know what? I'm going to end by pointing out the absurdity once again of here's the Daily Caller. Granted, I just cherry-picked a couple left and right websites showing this pensive and stoic Kavanaugh. And then you have Splinter showing this snarling gremlin of a Kavanaugh, calling him unhinged, and one calling him forceful. And that's the world we live in. Tribal nonsense. I don't care about the opinions you're injecting into your story. We don't need to call it lurid. We don't need to call it forceful. We don't need to call it unhinged. Let's just say Kavanaugh gave an opening statement, and he was very passionate. And you know what? No, I'll take that back. I think forceful is okay. Unhinged is a bit direct, to say the least. All I can really end with is this kind of nonsense. Disaster for Republicans. What are you talking about? It wasn't a disaster for anybody. The left is going to praise Ford and claim they won, and the right is going to praise Kavanaugh and claim they won, and nothing was accomplished. All we did was waste everyone's time. My time was wasted. I sat around all day. I didn't get to go out and do the work that I wanted to do, but I was able to get videos done. I'm just so sick of partisan nonsense, and I think most people are liars, and I really want to have nothing to do with it. And people keep trying to make me have something to do with it. So you know what? I'm going to keep doing the things that I do. I'm going to keep making the videos. But at some point, I just got to get angry and complain about the complete and utter bullshit that we watch in this political circus. I don't... It's... Whatever. I'm out. There's my rant. I'll see you all on the main channel, youtube.com/Timcast, tomorrow at 4 p.m.